What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate. Today for Prime Day, July the 15th of 2019. Of course, welcome to the program. And for those that don't know, this is a daily gaming news podcast hosted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on twitch.tv/Samuel Adams. If you do want to catch up live on the hottest gaming news of the day. Now, of course, the show is then taken down and put up on youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media, as well as podcast services around the world thanks to Anchor.fm if you did want to catch the show on a different kind of format. But of course, to those hanging out live in the chat, I appreciate you being here. Welcome on in. And of course, as we said, today is Prime Day, so we'll be talking more about that just briefly. I'm not going to be doing a full rundown of the deals, but if you're looking for a computer component, a peripheral, a mouse, a new DualShock 4, whatever you might need, you can probably find something on sale on Amazon. And don't worry, they'll take your money. But today's big topic, Ubisoft wants to include your music in Watch Dogs Legion. We are going to be talking more about that, why it's sort of a low-end business practice, it's a little bit shitty, and also how you can get in on it, because it's not changing and people still want their stuff in games. But we're also going to be talking about Fiverr introducing game development services, The Division 2's creative director asking fans if they are interested in a single-player spinoff. Absolutely. Then we have more talk about Luigi's Mansion 3, which apparently is going to be coming in October, a very fitting release month for that game. Dr. Mario World hits 2 million installs and over $100,000 spent within 72 hours of its release. It's a pretty impressive number. Gearbox is teasing a celebration of Togetherness for next week. What could that mean? It very well could be cross-play. There is a rumor going around about the PlayStation Plus August games, and it looks like they are pretty good. And on top of that, I also have a free game for you. Not from me, but from the Epic Games Store, if you do want to pick up Torchlight, which, again, it's free, so why not? But again, I hope you guys enjoy today's show, and without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's top gaming news. First off, Ubisoft wants to include your music in Watch Dogs Legion. We are super excited to hear your music composition. Ubisoft has once again partnered up with Hit Record to give fans the opportunity to have their... I am so sorry. It's called Hit Record. I remember that from the press conference now with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Let's start that one over. Ubisoft has once again partnered up with Hit Record to give fans the opportunity to have their songs featured in its upcoming hacktivist sequel, Watch Dogs Legion. From the very beginning, we have always wanted to include our fans and the community in our making of our game, Ubisoft said. Thanks to our partnership with Hit Record, our talented Watch Dogs fans and the Hit Record community have the opportunity to participate together in the creation of the musical landscape of our open-world version of London. Whether you are a musical composer, writer, singer, player, or someone with big ideas and a lot of passion, we are super excited to hear your music composition. You can get started right away. This isn't the first time Ubisoft has collaborated with Hit Record, an open community for creative collaboration. You might remember that a similar promotion was launched at Ubisoft's E3 briefing last year, if I remember correctly, for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Contributors can offer songs or parts of songs for themes like Aggressive Grim Punk Song or Teasing Funk Pop Song, with the winning contributors expected to receive payment by January 2020. This time around, however, Hit Record has been clear that it will pay $2,000 for each song that makes the cut, split between people whose contribution is in the final version of the game. This means you might secure hundreds of dollars, you might end up with just enough to buy a pizza, or you might end up with nothing at all. As with every creative endeavor, some ideas won't develop or work out as we expected, and some pieces won't be the right fit for the game, Ubisoft said. Tom at Eurogamer spent some time with Watch Dogs Legion at E3 and has some thoughts about it over there on Eurogamer. But essentially, this is the idea. You can get your music in Watch Dogs Legion, and you have the potential to get paid a bit of money. Now, in the chat, Edgar says, so they're just too lazy to make music. Not necessarily. You can approach this concept from two different perspectives. On one hand, it's cool that they are allowing the community to potentially have a way to influence what is actually included in the game. On the other end, they're literally cutting out a giant portion of the funding, the budget, and essentially saving money by using community-made stuff. And I will say this is now possible in 2019 because there are so many amateur people that can create professional quality content. I mean, take myself for example. I'm not the most ideal, perfect, recording, content creating guru, but I can do stuff like this, and this wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago. And so whenever you're thinking about that, amplify that and think about the people that have full in-home studios to create music. That is potentially the biggest money-saving gimmick that Ubisoft could ever potentially come up with. And that's basically the entire premise behind Hit Record. And of course, that's pretty much the general discussion online right now, is that you have so many people wanting to get their name out there, wanting to at least put something down on their resume as, hey, I had this song in Watch Dogs Legion. Hey, I had this song in Beyond Good and Evil 2. There are so many people that are willing to do work for basically nothing just to get recognition, and companies are taking advantage of that. And that's what you have here with Hit Record and the Watch Dogs Legion collaboration. So overall, I get the idea. I know that people want to get their name out there. I know you want to be included in something big like Watch Dogs Legion, but the more that you embrace this kind of model, the more that you throw yourself in to this world where people can just get recognition instead of getting paid, it becomes a very dangerous game to play. And that's coming from someone who totally understands putting their work out there for free with the goal of just getting recognition, because that's essentially what I've been doing on YouTube for the past better part of 10 years now. It's insane, and it's just something that is part of the industry as we know it today. But I will say, on the flip side of this, Music Man in the chat says this is an amazing idea and what an opportunity for a small-time music creator. Exactly. There are two different perspectives you can take with this. On one hand, yes, you are giving somebody that is a smaller creator an opportunity. But on the other hand, how much should you actually be paying them? Should you be paying them the same amount you would pay somebody that is notable, somebody that is a longtime composer, or should you be paying them less because of the fact that they're just pretty much essentially freelance contractors at this point? It's a very complicated issue, one that has a lot of takes going around online, but it is something that I wanted to bring up in today's show because it's a cool idea, and I love the fact that you do have the potential to be in a game. You can get your content in a game, but I'm not sure the business model is where it should be in 2019. But still, it's a cool idea, on its way. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a good actor. Needs to be Nighthawk. But moving on to, is it Nighthawk? Hold on. Nighthawk from Batman. Nighthawk. I don't know if that's Batman. Let's see. Nightwing? Is it Nightwing? Yeah, it is Nighthawk. Wait, no, shit. Yes. All right, it was Nighthawk. I was on point with that. Anyways, moving on to the next topic of the day. Fiverr introduces game development services. Fiverr, the popular online freelance marketplace, is getting into game development. Newsweek reports that Fiverr has started offering game development jobs and tasks for studios and individuals looking for all kinds of development work. There are 30 distinct categories, everything from writing and video editing to more strenuous roles like programming and animation. As with most content on Fiverr, freelancers can upload samples of their work, and the site even recognizes industry-exclusive skills such as proficiency with Unity and Unreal engines. Freelancers are able to set a price for their services, but the competitive nature of the platform ensures this will always be dictated by the market. We have game agencies that are leveraging the platform in order to get resources for game design and development. Head of Vertical Experience Jan Chelly told Newsweek. This couldn't have arrived at a worse time for games industries. However, as calls for unionization get increasingly louder, freelance workers stand to lose the most. Freelancers lack contracts that would offer workplace security such as healthcare, pension, sick pay, holiday pay, etc. Games Workers Unite's Marijam Didsgalvite nailed it, said, when the market dictates how much a person's value is worth, contractors are encouraged to compete against each other and undervalue their work. And the editor's note on VG247.com says, fuck this. I agree. Okay, so for those that don't know what Fiverr is, essentially it's a place where you can go and charge whatever amount you want for a service, whether it be creating a track, whether it be drawing a picture or a painting or commissioning any kind of work. That's essentially what Fiverr is. Low-paying work for low-paying... It's basically if you need something done, you can go get it done on Fiverr. With that being said, game development, a bit of a different beast, in my opinion, because there is so much skill involved in creating a game. And, of course, going on right now in the industry is a lot of talk about game development, game developers, and the rights that they have, the stuff they are entitled to, such as healthcare, such as reasonable amounts of work per week and per development cycle. A lot of talk going on right now. And so for Fiverr to introduce this gives a very affordable, low-end entryway to get your content created for, again, a very low amount of money. And this is where I'm going to kind of riff on this for a minute because it's something that I identify with so much. My current job as a full-time contractor for a company is grueling work. It's something that I'm not getting paid tons of money to do, and I still have this mindset of it's an opportunity. It's something that I'm able to do, and it's something that is going to get me places, hopefully. And that's essentially where I think a lot of game developers are coming from. That's where a lot of artists are coming from whenever it comes back to the hit record stuff. Everybody wants their chance, and chances aren't given away for free. And so whenever you have Fiverr offering these opportunities, you can put your name out there, and you could potentially be chosen to help develop something big, even though you might not have the most experience, but you are undercharging. That's essentially the idea here. Is it right? No. But is it going to be able to allow smaller creators, smaller developers to break into a very, very populated industry? It very well could. And again, there's this double standard. There's this dichotomy going on where you do have two different perspectives, two different approaches, where on one hand, I do totally understand this unionization idea where people should know their worth and you should be able to charge your worth. And in a perfect world, in a bubble, yes, that's exactly how this should work. But in an industry that is saturated, in an industry that has people coming into it every single day, that's just simply not the way that this works. And that's unfortunate. You know, that's just a very unfortunate situation, but that's just not where we're at right now. Again, I'm a full supporter of unionization. I'm a full supporter of knowing your worth, valuing yourself, and charging appropriately, but within reason. If somebody can get something cheaper, you have to remain competitive, and that's just the nature of the beast. That's capitalism, and it kind of sucks from time to time, but it's the game you play, and it's not a fun game to play. But speaking of not fun games to play, just kidding, let's talk about The Division 2. The Division 2 creative director asked fans if they are interested in a single-player spinoff. No guarantees, but it is fun to dream. The Division 2 creative director Julian Grady is curious how fans feel about one player's idea for a single-player spinoff in the Division universe. Tim Spencer, level director at TT Games, the LEGO Games folk, tweeted on Saturday about his idea. Tweeted on Saturday about his ideal theoretical single-player Division that would focus on narrative and characters. And so, of course, big industry dude talking to another big industry dude. Spencer's ideal spin-off would explore a Division agent trying to find their family amid the events of the game's stories. None of the stories have explored what a Division agent sacrifices and what they go through mentally. When you think about it, it's a pretty dark/epic thing. There is huge opportunity to tell some incredible stories there, he said. At the very least, Grady is interested and wants to know what fans think. That doesn't mean anything will come of this. It's much more likely nothing will. But The Division is a world with a lot of storytelling potential. A consistent criticism of the multiplayer co-op series and its mediocre storytelling is pretty much consistent, so it's fun to think about a spin-off where narrative could come first. And so is this a good idea? Should they actually create some kind of single-player spin-off for The Division? Yes, absolutely. There is so much potential, as the article says, for something to come of a narrative placed in the world of The Division. Of course, there is this kind of general narrative. There's an outline of a narrative, if you will, around the whole breakout, the sickness, the illness, the disease, whatever you want to call it, infecting New York, spreading, etc. And so you have this framework that is just ripe for some kind of emotionally driven narrative to be inserted into it. But will it ever happen? I don't think that it will, because again, the funding has to come for a reason. They have to be able to make a Division 3, and if you are going to be making a Division 3, more than likely you are going to have to include every element that's been in the Division 1 and the Division 2, along with some revisions. And if the industry continues to track in the way that it is, innovation doesn't necessarily become a part of that. There are obviously going to be a couple of new bells and whistles for the Division 3, but at the same time, I can only see them including a narrative if it is in the Division 3. I doubt a spin-off would ever actually happen just because of the way that games are funded and that games are backed by the people behind the scenes publishing and funding the game themselves. But I would love to see this because I think, again, there is a lot of potential here. But let me know what you think. Of course, I do believe narratives are a big part of the future of the industry. So many people are talking about multiplayer being the central focus. So many people are focusing on these games as services, such as The Division 2, such as Destiny 2 even. You have so many games like this, but still, those narrative experiences, your God of Wars, your Spider-Man, Spider-Mans, all these games that have really genuinely great narratives are the ones that still stand out in people's minds. And I think that there is definitely a spot for that if done well going forward. But to be fair, every Tom Clancy game could be a story-driven single-player experience. I mean, think about Wildlands. That's a perfect, even cinematic setting for any kind of story to be told. Ideal. But I digress. We could talk about that all day. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But Luigi's Mansion 3 has a potential release date. Another game that would be a fantastic cinematic narrative-driven experience. But if you do want to pick up Luigi's Mansion 3, it looks like it's coming in early October. Of all the news Nintendo revealed back at E3 2019, one notable nugget of information that many were still left waiting for was a release date for Luigi's Mansion 3. While the latest sequel in the long-running series is slated to arrive before the end of the year, Nintendo still hasn't said just when it will drop specifically. Well, as of now, it seems like the official release date may have been leaked before Nintendo was able to formally reveal it. In a new listing over on Amazon Mexico, Luigi's Mansion 3 is set to launch on October 4th, 2019. This date actually checks out for a variety of reasons. For starters, it's before the end of the year, which is all we currently know about the prospective launch. October 4th also falls on a Friday, which is almost always the day of the week Nintendo opts to release their games as well. And perhaps most importantly of all, it's out in October. While Nintendo themselves never said Luigi's Mansion 3 would release in this month of the year, it kind of just has to, right? It would feel so wrong to release a new Luigi's Mansion game in any month of the year which doesn't coincide with Halloween. This would basically be the perfect game to play leading up to the spookiest night of the year. While this release date has not been confirmed just yet by Nintendo, retail leaks like this often prove to be accurate. We should find out in the near future if this is indeed the day in which Nintendo plans to launch the game, so stay tuned. Until that time, Luigi's Mansion 3 is slated for release at some point in 2019 exclusively on the Nintendo Switch. And so Luigi's Mansion 3, October 4th, is it possible? Absolutely, this is pretty much guaranteed to be the release date. And again, this article from DualShockers pretty much hits the highlights, and most notably, it is coming out right before Halloween. This gives you time to kind of get it out in the wild, give the reviews time to percolate, and boom, there you go, a big Halloween release for the boys at Nintendo. Of course, this is coming out just, I believe, roughly 2 weeks after the launch of the Nintendo Switch Lite, so this is going to be an ideal game to pick up right after you pick up the brand new console. Imagine, September 20th, you go pick up a Nintendo Switch Lite and something like Breath of the Wild. In a couple of weeks, you say, hey, I've been wandering around Hyrule for, again, 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and get something new. Boom, Luigi's Mansion 3 pops up, ideal to be able to play on the Nintendo Switch Lite. And again, if you do want to pick up Luigi's Mansion 3, it should be coming out October the 4th, but nothing is confirmed as of yet. However, I think it's a pretty good idea to go ahead and pencil that one in on your calendar. But maybe you don't want to pick up a Nintendo Switch, maybe you don't have a Nintendo Switch, but you probably have a cell phone, and Dr. Mario World is on it. I will say before we dive into this, I have been playing Dr. Mario World. I have a lot of downtime at work, so I did want to get some hands-on experience with this brand new Nintendo game, and I will say, it's pretty fun. It hits 2 million installs and over $100,000 spent in 72 hours of its release. Dr. Mario World has only been available for a couple of days, and it's already a bit of a hit. Nintendo released its fifth mobile game, Dr. Mario World, a little over 72 hours ago, and it's already seen over 2 million installs. Players during this time have also spent over $100,000 on in-app purchases, which range from $1.99 to $70. My God. Along with the aforementioned data, Sensor Tower also compared how Dr. Mario World stacks up against previous Nintendo mobile games during the same time period. It's not doing so well as compared to stuff like Fire Emblem Heroes, and of course Super Mario Run came out and it was pretty much the big hit, but kind of shocking to see anything with Mario in the title not doing as well as the comparative games. In Dr. Mario World, players treat viruses by matching 3 medicine caps. Stages have a limited number of moves, similar to other puzzle-based games like Candy Crush, Homescapes, and Fishdom. As the player advances, new maps will open up. The game also becomes more challenging with the introduction of obstacles. The free-to-play puzzle game was released on Tuesday, July 9th, a day earlier than the original date provided. It's available on iOS and Android in limited markets, and it will eventually be released in 60 countries and in multiple languages. And so, again, if you haven't picked it up, if you haven't given it a shot, it's a pretty fun match 3 game. It's good to kill time with. It's not going to be blowing your mind, and it's certainly not going to be a Nintendo Select in the future. But again, As Nintendo breaks into the mobile market, to be able to really riff on these classic franchises like Dr. Mario World, to be able to really inject Super Mario Run into the main neck of the marketplace, that's pretty much the goal here, and they're doing fairly well with it. $100,000, though, not a ton of money considering the fact that it is a Dr. Mario game, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see exactly how well it does over time. On track to do better than Dragalia Lost, but at the same time, not going to be doing any kind of numbers as compared to Animal Crossing, Super Mario Run, or certainly not Fire Emblem Heroes. But to be fair, it's not as complex of a game. I mean, even as compared to Super Mario Run, which is essentially an endless runner, it doesn't have that same kind of platform draw that a regular Mario game would have. Dr. Mario World, instead, is pretty much catering directly to that match 3 player base, and it does fairly well at what it does, but will it be able to break in where it is so saturated with Candy Crush and with all of the copies of Candy Crush that are out there? I just don't know. With a name like Nintendo and with a name like Dr. Mario World, it very well has potential, but I don't know if it can at the moment. However, let's talk about Borderlands 3 because Gearbox is teasing a celebration of togetherness for next week. Gearbox has posted an open invitation for what it's calling a Celebration of Togetherness event for next week, which could be hinting at the announcement of crossplay. The company posted the announcement on the wedding invitation-like image, announcing the event would be on Borderlands.com at 7 a.m. Pacific time on July the 16th, which is tomorrow. Gearbox also tweeted another obscure teaser about the event. We'd be honored for you to take this moment to celebrate our togetherness, and we anticipate that we will have prepared for you. Excuse me, let's start over. We'd be honored for you to take this moment to celebrate our togetherness, and we anticipate that what we have prepared for you can create a shared moment of happiness, joy, and wonder, he wrote. And again, that is Randy Pitchford. Considering its name and Pitchford's message, it's impossible, or it could be possible, the event will include the announcement of crossplay for the RPG shooter, which would be great news, as it would take a bit of the edge off of it being an Epic Game Store exclusive, and would hopefully let console and PC players work together through Borderlands 3's meaty 35-hour-ish campaign. If that's not the case, the announcement could be another major feature, which means this is likely worth keeping an eye on. We will find out tomorrow, Tuesday, July the 16th. I think it very well could be crossplay. I think it would be very fitting for crossplay. And again, for those that don't know or are not familiar with Borderlands, it's basically this giant looter-shooter kind of game. I know some people don't like that term, but you know what I mean. Where teamwork is a big part of the framework if you do play in a co-op kind of way. And so to be able to include crossplay really does open up the potential for this game, because if you have somebody on PS4, then you have somebody on Xbox One, then you have somebody on PC, all of them can team up, all of them can get into the game together, and it makes a much more welcome opening experience for the guys over there that are playing Borderlands 3, which there are going to be plenty. This game is going to do very well. But if you do want to tune in, again, this event is happening tomorrow, July the 16th at 7 a.m. Pacific time on Borderlands.com, which I would assume just redirects to Borderlands on Twitch. But I digress. We will have to wait and see exactly what the celebration of togetherness actually entails. But it could be crossplay, and I really, really do hope it's crossplay. However, I know you guys like knowing the deals. I know you guys like knowing the news, but I've got both for you. Because PlayStation Plus, of course, offers free games per month, and now we have an idea of what the August games could be for the PlayStation 4. August 2019's PlayStation Plus games have supposedly been leaked. According to pictures that Glitched Africa received from a reader, two PlayStation 4 titles have shown up as free on the PlayStation Store, complete with the usual little PlayStation Plus logo. We have seen PlayStation Plus games leak early on the store before, but this is especially soon. We're barely halfway through July. Anyway, two games in question are Star Wars Battlefront 2 and EA Sports UFC 3. Supposedly, and the off-screen snaps themselves look mostly legit. However, this is where we start to wonder whether this is just some sort of error. Both titles are published by EA, which makes it rather unorthodox selection. Adding to our doubt, this is, in fact, part of PlayStation Plus. EA Access, EA's subscription service, launches later this month for PS4 on the 24th of July. Would EA really be willing to ship off two of its relatively recent games to PlayStation Plus just after its own subscription service launched on the same platform? Again, the guys at Push Square are not convinced. We'll know whether this is real on the 31st of July. That's when Sony will officially announce August PlayStation Plus games. In the meantime, you can let them know exactly if you are happy with the selection. So question one, is this legit? I think it could be. Of course, the original Star Wars Battlefront reboot from, I believe, 2015 was given away for free as part of PlayStation Plus, so there is a big potential that Star Wars Battlefront 2 could be given away. UFC 3, it's a hard one to read. I could see a deal being struck between Sony and EA because, again, these two games aren't necessarily big name releases that are carrying EA throughout 2019. Star Wars Battlefront 2, it has seen a huge amount of resurgence, but UFC 3, I just don't really know how many people actually play it. Again, I'm not really a big UFC guy, not a big sports fan, really, especially when it comes to games, but these could be the August PlayStation Plus games. At the same time, definitely approach this with a huge dose of probably not going to be the PlayStation Plus games because I think they're probably working stuff on the back end. I'm sure EA Access is kind of shaking things up, so maybe a couple of errors are being made here and there. But man, if there's one thing the gaming industry is good at, it's pointing out errors because, man, they do that very well. That's why the show exists. Yeah. But moving on to the final story of the day, I've got a free game for you from the Epic Games Store and a preview of what is next. Torchlight is free on the Epic Games Store. The weekly free game from the Epic Games Store has been updated. Torchlight is here, available to claim for free through the Epic Games Store site or the client. Torchlight is available until Thursday, July the 18th, when it will be replaced with Limbo. Torchlight is a Diablo-style top-down action RPG that is beloved by many. The game has a distinct art style and plenty of content, and though it's nearly 10 years old, visuals still hold up today. Unlike its sequel, the original Torchlight does not support multiplayer and is only playable solo. Believe it or not, the Torchlight brand is actually still alive, and we're even getting a new game, Torchlight Frontiers, at some point in the future. And so if you do want to pick it up before July the 18th, you can on the Epic Games Store before it's replaced by Limbo and whatever comes next. A couple of weeks back, we got the confirmation that Epic Games is going to be giving away a game for free every single week for the rest of 2019, so be sure to stay tuned because I will definitely keep you guys up to date and informed on the newest free game coming from you, or from them, or from anyone, because I love giving people free games, or at least letting you know about free games, because, again, they're free, so why wouldn't you add them to your library? It just simply makes sense. But with that being said, that rounds out today's episode of Caffeinate. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, be sure to hit that follow button on Twitch. Be sure to subscribe on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia, and be sure to enjoy the content because I love making it for you, and I do hope you enjoy taking it in from me. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. I will talk to you soon, and peace.